Welcome, Wonder Women of the World. We have Sophie McLaren here from Colorado to teach us week 3 of inner coding. And because last week the sound didn't come through very well, I asked her to also talk about and repeat the exercise, the breathing exercise that we did last week. Sophie, it's all yours. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, thank you, Ilona. And hello, good morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world. And greetings from my mother's kitchen in Boulder, Colorado, on a lovely sunny day. So as Ilona mentioned, the request was to redo the practice that we did last week. So this is a breathing practice to help soothe your nervous system and put your body, your state into one of rest and digest rather than fight or flight. So the idea here that we're working with again is this basic principle that our mind is extremely valuable. And so our mind and hearts are worth taking care of. And this is a great evidence-based practice that we can use to take care of our minds, especially when we're feeling stress, anxiety, frustration. So let's begin the practice, and I'll just give a brief introduction. So the basic idea is that we're breathing very consciously. So your mind is always looking for one point to rest on. And if you don't give it a point, then it tends to fly around all over the place. So we have millions of thoughts and ideas. And also because we have a little bit of a negativity bias as human beings, the places that our mind tends to go to tend to be problems, negative things that have happened to us in the past, worries about the future, that sort of thing. So we can just acknowledge that about the way that we're wired, and then very consciously go off of autopilot, which takes us to those places, and rather hold our mind in the present moment. And the way that we do this is by paying attention fully to something in the present moment. And in this case, it's the sensation, the feeling of our body breathing. This very simple movement of drawing air in through our nostrils, feeling the chest rising and falling as the air becomes breath and fills your lungs, and then exhaling and even following as the breath then again becomes air and dissolves into the air around you. So this is just, a very natural practice that we're doing all the time. It's not something we have to remember to do. If we did, we would probably all be dead because one day we were just really busy and we forgot to breathe. So it's something we're just doing without thinking about it that we can tune into, rest our attention, our awareness, our consciousness there. And in this practice, we're very specifically slowing the breath down, breathing very slowly and deeply, so that we breathe less than 6 breaths per minute, less than 10 breaths per minute. Okay, so about 6 seconds each. And the reason for that is that there's evidence that shows that that kind of slow, deep breath soothes the nervous system, kind of calms our system down, especially when we're feeling stressed or anxious, and helps us go from fight or flight mode, where it's really almost impossible to learn new things and function when we're doing work like coding, for example, into rest or digest, where we feel relaxed, open, and ready to learn, ready to engage with all of our cognitive abilities at their best. So taking an upright posture, and the idea here again is that the way that you hold your physical body affects very much how you feel in your mind. So as we did on the first day, if you were to sit like this, it has a particular quality, a particular feeling. And it tends to lead, we find, to feelings of depression, mind wandering, distraction, tiredness. Okay. Whereas if you if you sit up and you take a posture which expresses that you're awake, alert and ready and still relaxed, that makes your mind feel the same way too. So we hold this kind of natural upright posture. And then we begin to tune into the feeling of the body breathing. So the sensation of air coming in through the nostrils, the rising and falling of the chest and the belly. It's this very natural process. Good. And as we do that, I'm going to set a little timer with Insight Timer. This is Insight Timer. We mentioned this last time, it's free. And this will just be a 5-minute meditation with little clacks, little kind of sounds every 6 seconds to let us know when to inhale and exhale. So we do it every 6 seconds so that we can get down to 10 breaths or less per minute. So let's try it now, and then there will be a ding to begin. So as you inhale, counting to 6, and then exhale, and we begin. And here come the clacks. Inhaling with the first clack. There we go. And then exhaling a second clack. It's inhaling with one clack, counting to 6. Exhaling with the second, again counting down to 6. You may find your mind wandering. And if that's the case, just noticing, letting go, coming back to the breath. Noticing the movement of your mind. Letting go, coming back to counting the breaths. In the last 30 seconds, allowing your mind to settle. Okay, so that was 5 minutes of breathing in for a count of 6 and breathing out for a count of 6. This is a practice that you can build into your day. So there are a few ways that you can use it. The first is you can start your working day in this way. So a lot of the work I do is with executives and people who are working in roles where they have a lot of responsibility and work very, very long hours and a huge amount of pressure. And one of the practices that we introduce with them is to begin your workday very consciously by setting the right tone. So when they first come into the office and sit down at their desks, before they do anything else, taking 5 minutes or even 1 minute, if that's the time that you have, just to kind of set up your mind for success. As well as that, if it's a leadership role, it's also setting yourself up to relate authentically and with a lot of care and awareness with everyone that you engage with throughout your day. So you sit down at your desk and you say, now I'm beginning work, and there's a particular way that I would like to work today. And you touch in on that motivation, right? I would like to have a clear mind, or I would like to interact with authenticity and care, whatever it is. And you set that intention. You do a few minutes of this breathing practice to settle your mind, and then you engage in your work. So you set a foundation. The other way of working with this practice, building it into your day, is in moments when you feel burnt out, stressed out, anxious, frustrated, when you're feeling challenging emotions or not in a state of mind where you can work effectively. So a moment where you just kind of go, I'm going to pause and take a break, right? You can go for a walk. You can do this practice actually while you're walking if you want to go outside, get some fresh air. Or you can just take a moment, close your computer, say, okay, I'm pressing the reset button now on myself. I had too many apps open in my head and things froze. So now I'm resetting them. So I hope that that's helpful to you. Ilona, are there any relevant questions?
Let me see. Lots of little palm emojis together. Thank you to you. Oh, Louise Hamlet has a comment, and I thought maybe you can also say something to it. Louise Hamlet says, it feels like it could be incredibly grounding as a mother too. Authenticity and care are essential. And a little
yeah, very true. That was Louise?
Yes.
Very true, Louise. Yes. My mother actually taught me these practices initially, and she built them into our family life. Oh. And actually for many years.
How? Could you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. We did together family mindfulness practice. And after school every day, we would do 5 minutes when we were younger, 10 minutes when we were older, starting from when I was about 6 years old. And my youngest sister was a newborn. Oh. And we had ages in between. Starting from around that time, we built it in as just a kind of daily practice. The family all sits together and, 5 minutes, follow our breath. We each got to take turns ringing the bell to start and end the practice. And we were rewarded afterwards with hot chocolate. So it was actually a very popular part of the day. My mother was very clever in that. And she
very skillful means.
Yeah, exactly. And she introduced it to us with the idea that this is just basic hygiene, in the same way that every day we have to brush our teeth. We have to eat, all of the vegetables that we didn't necessarily want to eat in our dinner, right? We also have a practice of taking care of our minds and hearts. And that is the family mindfulness practice. My mother has written about 13 books on this and illustrated them. She has a series called Peaceful Piggy Meditation and another series called Moody Cow Meditates. And so it's a great practice that parents can do with their children. And what's wonderful for children is that at this age, they're already in the present moment, right? When they sit down, they don't have a lifetime of baggage that they're trying to let go of so they can be present. They're already there. So introducing a practice like this to children is just giving them kind of like a speed bump in their day, a pause in their day where they just reconnect with themselves. And for a young child, it can take 30 seconds, right? And they reconnect and then they go. And in doing that, it also helps them to be comfortable with silence, stillness, and being with themselves. And increasingly, especially, as children have these and our lives are kind of busier and faster, we tend to be losing those moments of stillness. And people start to think that boredom is negative, that boredom is a problem, right? Mm. And that's a new concept. So for ourselves and our children, it's reintroducing these moments of stillness and quiet where we just reconnect, and that we have a positive feeling about that, rather than feeling like, oh, I should be doing something more productive or I should be entertaining myself.
Fabulous. I will add one small thing about the children, and now the comments are coming in, so this is wonderful. Please keep on typing. So I have a good friend who is a Chinese Buddhist nun, the Venerable Yifa, and she told me this lovely story. She teaches children as well sometimes as part of outreach, and she discovered this by accident, that it works very well if you have children who can count already to a few hundred, to say to them that we are going to sit down, and in our mind we're going to count to 300 with a relatively slow count, so that one count is a second. If they have a concept of a second, you can demonstrate to them. And what was very interesting, she chose 300 because that's 5 times 60. Exactly what we did. Anyway, so they sat down and she had the timer on, and finished. And she said, okay, everybody. And one of the little boys went and he said, but I'm not done yet. Please wait. And so he sat there, and then he got to his own 300, and then he came and re-engaged. And it was just such a moment of discovery for her as a Buddhist nun of 20 plus years, that this innocence of the children is so pure, and they completely engaged. They just counted each number, and this boy had the ability to stay with it, which many adults, it's hard for us to do that if we aren't trained. And so she discovered this is a very easy and genuine way. And then, of course, you can choose 600 or 1,000, depending on how far you want to go. But it's tremendously easy practice and very meaningful. So this is one other option you can do if the child is old enough, or if you feel like you want to try for yourself.
That's great, Elena. That's a great idea.
I will read the other comments now. It's coming in lovely. Louise again said, family mindfulness sounds amazing. I love the idea of a physical bell and the bell sign. Thank you. Mariam Bibi said, what is this going on here? Is this a Python session? And I sent her the link to explain that this is inner coding. So this is mindfulness and resilience, how we rewire ourselves and reprogram ourselves on the inside for resilience. So this is a little special women in tech type of approach to mindfulness. Okay. Kat says, this is really interesting. Both of them. Virginia says, Virginia Balseiro, I have the hardest time sitting still like this for even 2 minutes. I start eyeing my phone or the time, which is exactly why I need it. Big smiley. I have very high anxiety.
That was Virginia?
Yes.
In Virginia, that's probably the most common comment that I hear. Initially, I'm looking at the time, or I'm thinking, is this really a good use of my time? I should be doing something productive. And especially for people with anxiety. And this is quite a big segment of the population, by the way. It's anxiety is very common. A lot of my students at Oxford come to my programs because they have anxiety. It's completely normal to feel uncomfortable initially doing this. And the main reason for that is what I was just saying, which is that we've lost this ability to just be, basically, to be present with ourselves, to be in stillness. Most of the societies that we probably live in are encouraging us to be constantly active, right? Constantly doing something. And especially now that we have these, it's never been easier to run away from ourselves, basically. A friend of mine just wrote a great article. Maybe I'll send it to you guys. It's he was an economist with the Bank of England, and he's written on the attention economy and how the fact that our attention has become a commodity, right? The things that we click on online, right? The things that we pay attention to, advertisements and that sort of thing. What that actually does to us internally, that we sort of lose our ability to just be. So it's very common. And the good news is that it gets easier and easier the more that you do it. And probably the key is to remember your motivation at the beginning. Why am I doing this? And remembering your mind is your greatest resource. We can really feel that our minds are extremely valuable and they're worth us taking care of. And these are evidence-based practices that really take care of your mind as well as your heart and emotions. So remembering your motivation first and then saying, okay, this is worth it, can help to get over the feeling like I should be doing something else. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. That's the good news.
Wonderful. Okay. Kat said, I read out. Louise Tamlet, they are totally present. I think this is about the children. And then Kat says, Kat Martin. Kat, can meditation bring me closer to connect with my inner self or just calm the mind?
Kat, that's a very good question. Yes, both. We're talking a lot here about calming the mind, in part because you're engaging in a course of coding, right? So you're using your minds intensively right now. You're cultivating new skills, and you're also cultivating innate capacities of your mind, right? Problem solving, paying attention, this sort of thing. So we're talking a lot about the mind, but very much this is also very much a practice of getting to know who you are. And, how do you get to know who you are? In the same way that you get to know anyone else, you spend real quality time with that person, right? If I really wanted to get to know Ilona, I would be fully present with Ilona, observe her, listen to her, right? Not be distracted when I'm with her. And I do want to get to know Ilona. I'm enjoying getting to know Ilona. And I'm glad that we've had some times like that in Oxford. If I want to get to know myself, really know myself, I do the same thing. I spend quality time being fully present with myself without distraction and without judgment, right? Just being with me. And that's actually, so you can think of a mindfulness practice or a meditation practice interchangeably as a practice of friendliness. And it's a practice of friendliness towards yourself because you're taking care of yourself. You're being a friend to yourself. You're getting to know yourself and you're taking care of your mind and heart. And it's also a kind of outward practice of friendliness because when we are really in tune with who we are, when our minds are calmer and clearer, and when we're fully present, we also tend to be kinder, more friendly people outwardly. So very often when people start this practice, other people start noticing something different about them and commenting and saying, you seem to be a lot more cheerful lately, or one of my clients said, I knew that this practice was working when I started getting feedback at work that I was less of a jerk. Good.
Okay, that worked.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that that's helpful. Yes, it's getting to know yourself and it's calming your mind. And you get to know yourself best with a clear mind where you can be present with yourself.
Fabulous. Okay. Lena Rigo. I actually didn't know what I was tuning into. Just clicked the notification without checking. But it was really refreshing and some great advice as well. A little girl, Ali, raised like hello emoji and a thank you emoji.
Okay, thank you.
I can explain very quickly here. So this is part of the Gold and VIP section here. So within the premium content, if you are a mentor, then you didn't have access to it through your membership site, but I've put the notification in the Discord where the mentors can also see it. So this is your perk for being online when we were doing it, and very, very warm welcome. Sophie McLaren is, I think, pioneer in the mindfulness world because she's the first person in the world, I think, to teach mindfulness within a business school setting. And she is teaching the mindfulness course at the Oxford University Business School. So you're very fortunate and we are very fortunate that she was willing to offer this to our Summer of Code participants. Okay, Louise said thank you. And then there are some nice comments here. Jessie RS says, I practice mindfulness with my husband since a few months already. We meditate together in the morning and before going to sleep. Wink. And it has been a great blessing in our lives.
Oh, that's great.
Louise says, nice, thumbs up. 300 is great. I love it. Thank you, Ilona. Ooh, 600, ... Paula Bernal, I started meditating about a year ago. It helped me so much. No doubt I will meditate with my kids when I have them. Huge smiley. Virginia says, thank you with a heart.
No.
Kat Martin, follow up to my question. I'm trying to find my purpose and enroll in tech. Oh, Kat, that's a great question.
We could actually do a whole session on that at some point, Ilona.
Okay.
If it's interesting to people, right?
I'm sure it is. Yes.
Be interesting to explore.
How long do you think that would be?
To find your purpose in life?
It says my purpose and role in tech. Yes. If Sophie, if you did a session just on that, how long would it be?
I mean, I think we could do like probably a 20-minute session with questions, right? Just kind of starting to touch on it and some, practices you can do if it's interesting to people, right? Because it is probably relevant. Like, why are we doing what we're doing is important, right?
I would love to, maybe we can discuss, and let's absolutely do it. Okay, Annie says, Annie KTK, thank you for beautiful and relaxing words. Well, thank you, Annie, for being here. Kat Birkinshaw, sometimes mindfulness seems to have been commodified and turned into a competition. How can we differentiate between this and a more selfless, meaningful version in our own practice? Asks Kat.
Pat, that's a really good question. I agree. I agree with you. It's definitely has been and continues to be commodified. And, mindfulness has actually become a $1 billion industry, right? Which in some ways is great because it means that it's become a practice which is accessible and relevant and helpful to people, right? In other ways, it's so easy to corrupt it, right? And people have had this term mindfulness, which we talked about in the first session, kind of like McDonald's version of mindfulness. And certainly that is happening. People are using mindfulness to sell all sorts of things, perfume, different kinds of food, that sort of thing. So there's a danger there. But I think overall it's very positive because, ultimately it comes to your personal motivation for doing it. Right? And, if you're clear about why do I want to do this, then you're engaging in your practice from a perspective of your own integrity and your own value system. I certainly work with people who want to learn mindfulness because they want to be more productive and want to get ahead in their career. For me, I look at that, kind of ethically, and it's something I, constantly am questioning, right? Is this helpful or not? And my personal feeling is that you meet people where they are, right? If that's what is really important to someone, and if that's what motivates them to work with their own mind, then fair enough, right? It's still a good practice to be doing, right? It's not my personal motivation, right? But that's okay. You meet people where you are and you offer what's helpful to them. The point is for it to be helpful. And I suspect that when people really engage in this practice more and more, even if their motivation initially is to make more money, right? I suspect that in the long term, it really softens people a little bit. And it's hard not to really connect with yourself. And then when you connect with yourself, connect with a kind of inner integrity when you're doing this practice in the long term. So I suspect that the motivation starts to expand when you do it longer.
I think, can I answer as a quick one as well? I think it's very easy to tell the two from each other, to be honest, because you just ask, what is the motivation? If the motivation is self-oriented, what is it about me? Do I get better? Do I get calmer? Do I get more relaxed? Then in some ways it is commoditized. If it's about service, it's about helping the world. Yes, you are strengthening yourself, but if the ultimate motivation is to make the world a better place, then it's clearly the motivation is pure. And so I think it's very, very clear to see where it is. And so you do need, I think if the self-oriented motivation is the side effect, driven by a genuine altruistic intent, then it's very clearly genuine. And it could be packaged into an app, or, there could be services around it. The truth is, we live in a Western world where, I must tell you, in the traditional Chinese monastery that I go to, every Chinese person, when they go in, they will take out a $20 bill and put it into the jar in the monastery, just to feed the monks and the nuns. It's like, it's a thing. It's just like, you don't have to ask for it. You get 200 Western people into a Chinese or a Buddhist monastery, and they will start complaining, okay, why are the books costing money? Why can't we get everything for free? So we have a little bit of a mismatch here in the West about, because it is religion, or because it is meditation, or because these are monks, it's okay to just force them to do everything for free. We have a saying, Buddha also has to eat rice. So you have to be a little bit, I think, careful not to fall into those two extremes. And if you have the wisdom to assess whether it's genuine or not, then it's very clear, I think, from a practitioner's perspective. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Now, I spent time in Chinese monastery and also Tibetan monastery, so I have a little bit different view. Okay, Jaina Solanki has a few questions. First of all, hello. Second of all, how many time did you spend for meditation? So how much time do you spend for meditation? And how can meditation change your life? And sorry, when I sit for meditation, the thoughts start to cover my mind. Why is that so?
This is Jaina, is her name?
I don't know how to pronounce exactly. It's Jainee, Jaini, maybe? Jaini Solanki? Jaini?
I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. Okay, so first part, how long do I sit? It depends on whether or not I'm traveling and how jet lagged I am.
She says Jenny is okay. Okay, Jenny.
Jenny, okay, thanks, Jenny. I've gone through periods where I sit for 2 or 3 hours a day, and periods where I sit for only 10 minutes a day. I definitely notice a difference between the two. For me, 10 minutes is a kind of minimum, and I find definitely the kind of longer the better, the more that I get out of it personally. It took me many years to work up to just feeling comfortable practicing mindfulness for a couple of hours. But I find in my daily life, probably averaging something around like 30 minutes, 45 minutes is what for me I like. And I usually work in a little bit of yoga with that as well, some kind of movement practice. How does it benefit your life? I should say to that as well, if 1 minute works for you, start with 1 minute. Okay. Why are you having a lot of thoughts? The mind thinks, and that's not a problem, right? We aren't saying, and this is very important, we're not saying get rid of your thoughts because thoughts are a problem. And this is I know that you weren't saying that, Jenny, but this is a common misconception, is how do I get rid of my thoughts so that I can have a clear mind? Rather, what we're talking about here is how do I kind of consciously work with my mind and my thoughts in a healthy way? Okay, so thoughts are going to come because the mind thinks. We've also, most of us, trained our mind to kind of jump all over the place and be entertained constantly. So this is a kind of rewiring, a retraining of the mind in a sense that we have more consciousness with it. We're not on autopilot all the time. So the question is not whether or not thoughts come, it's how we engage with them when they do come. So we can be sitting here following the breath and we start to think, we notice, I'm a little bit hungry, right? There's a feeling, sensation, hunger, then we attach a thought to it, this is hunger, right? We can notice that, I'm hungry. Let it go, come back to the breath, right? We're not rejecting that thought. We're just saying, hungry, okay, let go. Or we can say, I'm hungry. I wonder what I should eat. Maybe I could eat this. Well, I should really probably be, changing my diet these days. And, maybe I could invite a friend to eat. And then we have all of these series of thoughts, right? So that's actually a choice if we're conscious of it. So we can notice the moment a thought arises, hungry. Oh, I noticed that. I let that thought dissolve and I come back to the breath. Or we can, bite the hook, it's sometimes called. We can kind of take the bait of that thought, jump on that thought, and, be away with it. And then 5 minutes later, suddenly we realize, we're not even thinking about lunch anymore. We're, planning some aspect of our future or replaying something in the past where, that thought has led to another thought and another thought and another thought, right? And then we suddenly go, oh yeah, I'm actually practicing mindfulness. And we come back and it's been 5 minutes, right? So the point is that we're becoming conscious. We notice when thoughts arise and we just let them dissolve again. So the thoughts will keep coming, probably less and less as the mind gets more used to just being still. But the thoughts will keep coming, and the practice is just to notice and let them go. The mind thinks, and that's a good thing, right? What we want now is our minds to be able to think more clearly and consciously.
Wow.
And how does it benefit your life? In a whole variety of ways. I can send you guys some videos. There's a lot of science behind tremendous health benefits, lowering your blood pressure for people who have high blood pressure, reducing depression.
Can we start maybe a small link? If you message me any of the links, I can put together a little box with recommended videos or links that people can watch when they have time or they are interested.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, that's great.
Great. Okay, I wanted to say something. There is somebody from Brazil, Sonia Macedo.
Hi.
So I'm trying to find her on Discord, but I cannot. It's fantastic because we have been looking for women in Brazil. It's not least because Sophie McLaren, actually travels to Brazil and teaches there as well. So if Sonia, I just asked you what your Discord name was. So if you can connect with Sophie, she is on Discord under Sophie, Sophie. Please connect. And also, Sophie, there is a Brazil channel. So if you would introduce yourself there, then people will know. I think that's a good idea. Lovely.
Great, thanks. Hello.
And maybe Sonia can help us do some outreach, both for Women to Tech, and then invite more people to introduce to you as well.
Wonderful. Yes.
Good. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap up here. I'm just going to read out some of the comments and then we will both say a little ending comment here. Wonderful. We have ladies from Pune, from Gujarat in India. Jenny says, I recently started meditating. She just completed her bachelor's. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And she also does yoga and pranayama. So
wonderful. Great. Breathing, pranayama breathing. Great.
Yeah. Sonia says, it's nice to meet. Janie practices about 10 minutes a day for now. Perfect. And then let's see, is there any... Thank you both, Kat Birkinshaw, for your insightful answers. I love the phrase, Buddha also has to eat rice. And there are some good questions. I'm going to read out, and this will be the cliffhanger. Virginia Balsero. I have a mini breakdown of why am I doing this? What am I putting into the world? Is it really useful for people every couple of weeks since I started coding? So I would love such a session. Okay, great. Thanks. I think that's it, Virginia. You got us. Now we will do it. Wonderful comment. So please, everybody, I would like to dedicate this to all of your benefit and to everybody that you love and care about, and also the benefit of all beings and the planet. I'd like to thank Sophie. And Sophie, if you would like to add some final thoughts and maybe just tell us what we will do next week, and then we will finish.
Thank you, Ilona. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for joining and for your good questions. Keep writing questions, and let's kind of go deeper into this as we go along. So again, the point of this program is for it to be helpful to you. And so having questions really helps to guide what we do together in this time. So I definitely encourage you to try this practice every day. If you can do 5-10 minutes, that's great. If only 1 minute, still great, still completely worth it. The key with this practice is regularity. And there's a lot of research behind that just doing it every day, even if it's a minute, starts to actually really change the physical structure of your brain, really in a matter of months. So I hope that this is helpful to you, and I look forward to going deeper with you on this practice and further practices next week.
Wonderful. Next week we'll meet same time, same channel, I believe, right, Sophie? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 5 p.m. British Standard Time. And you have this video, so if you would like to use it as your daily practice, the first 5 minutes is the guided meditation, or you're very welcome to do it on your own. And we'll see you next. Have a wonderful weekend, and congratulations to all of you for finishing week 3. Bye.
Bye.